Hello and welcome to Octavator Plays. Okay, this week I'm going to talk about a very cheap, and you know, for the price of it, it's a great pedal. Chinese made Joyo Voodoo Octave pedal. Got this on Amazon, I think it was about €30. I bought this because I had serious lack of money. So let's plug her in and give her a go. Okay, so the cons first about the pedal. Start with the fuzz. When you have it down low, it gives, you know, a nice clean, subtle distortion of the fuzz. But, you know, you turn it just slightly up and it just goes straight away into a heavy fuzz distortion. And you can only really crank it up from there. And when you go right to the top, it really does go nuts fuzz. You know, maybe to about 6 is a perfect kind of position for it. It gives a nice fuzz sound out of it. But I just don't like the fact that there's a huge jump. You can't really get a nice subtle change. The tone, it does give a great tone range. You know, there is that subtle change. It's not like the fuzz where it just rips straight into it. And you can go right down to a real muddy, heavy fuzz for maybe a doom and stuff like that, and then really crank it up for a high fuzz a tone. It's really clean as well, really clear. I wouldn't crank it up too low. I normally crank it just before the 6 mark, just to make it a little bit muddy, but just a little clean. Then you get the normal and mid-cut switch, which is a great thing. I don't really use the mid-cut, but I do plug it, flick it every so often, and I do have a bit of fun with it. But I prefer the normal, in all fairness. But it is nice for that style of mid-cut. Volume, you know, the tone pot is really stiff, and maybe it's just this pedal, but you know, there is subtle changes, but not drastically changed, except when you crank it right down, it really does turn it off. But once you go past the 6, there's no really dramatic increase in volume. I'll talk about the octave up boost just before I talk about the actual fuzz itself. You know, most octave pedals anyway, especially analog octaves, don't really give a great range in octave anyway. You're going to have to get a digital octave pedal in order to get a real clear distinction between all up and down the fretboard. Mostly with analog octaves, you're only going to get in certain positions. But I found this to be, you know, nice enough, and you know, you could really hear it clearly across most parts of the fretboard. It's nice just to have and play around with it a bit. Mostly for the high frets, you know, down in the high strings and high frets, it does come out clear. The fuzz itself, you know, it's great fuzz. I can't really complain about it. Like, the sound of it is great. I got it out of on a cheap whim kind of thing. And I'm kind of delighted I did. It is worth it. When you have the settings right, it sounds great, but obviously you can crank it up and it will sound terrible, or you can turn it well down and it can also sound terrible, but you know, it's everyone's preference, I suppose. I think it's a great pedal, so head out and buy one if you want to test it and just see what it's like. Okay, so click like, subscribe, and comment on the channel as usual, and tune in next week for this custom paint job now, but this is a Joyo extreme metal pedal. I just didn't like the fact it said extreme metal, so I peeled it off and put a Joker on it. So tune in next week and check it out.